Okay, welcome back. Hey, in today's lesson, we are going to talk about urgency. Okay, telling them it's urgent. If you let your sales prospect leave to think over your sales promotion, odds are you just straight up lost a sale. The main reason for this is that you didn't include a sense of urgency in your offer. And if you did, the sales prospect might have hesitated at the end. If you've already raised the objections and resolved them and done some emotional salesmanship, then why isn't your prospect ready to pull out their wallet at this point? You may not have relayed a sense of urgency, crucial for them to make up their mind while you have them on your site or in your store. Think of it this way. If you're trying to get immediate action or attention from a crowd of people, you might try saying, "Excuse me, excuse me." Odds are they will ignore you and go about their business. However, if you were to grab the microphone and yell, "Fire, fire, fire," you can bet you've instigated immediate attention and action. Similarly, you want your offers to light that fire under your sales prospect so they don't think they have time to ponder your offer. They must make up their mind right then and there. This dramatically increases the probability that you will close that sale. So, what's the strategic plan here? There's basically two themes to this strategy. You're either trying to light a fire at the beginning of the sales presentation, or you are trying to overcome a final objection with a sense of urgency. In the first case, where you're trying to light a fire at the beginning of the presentation, the idea is to make your sales offer dramatic and instantly appealing. That doesn't mean that you have to focus on the positive aspects, as fear can also be a powerful motivator to buy. But you do want to provoke a powerful emotional response that invokes the potential for a huge loss if the person doesn't take immediate action. So one likes to feel like they are losing something because they weren't bold enough to take action now. Nobody wants to do that. You also want them to become engaged in the buying experience so that they want to become the hero of their own drama and resolve that problem that's plagued them and driven them to your sales page. However, if you don't bolster their courage or show them that this is possible, they then might feel, strange jumping into, grab your offer, even if emotionally they are ready to do so. So give them a little push. Once, one of the best ways to create a sense of urgency is to give a time limit to the offer or make it special, introductory offer. The time limit offers, will work for new and existing customers. Whereas the introductory offer is great for people who are new to your site or may need a little bit of a push to commit to that first sale. Either way, the way this strategy would work is that you're creating an expectation of loss if that person doesn't take you up on the offer at that moment. In this case of an introductory offer, it may be one time and it's available to people who subscribe to your mailing list. If they don't take you up on it, then later the same offer will be priced much higher. In the case of limited offers, the loss expressed may be that you won't be able to even offer the same package at a later date. Once it's sold out, it's gone, done. Or once the time limit is reached, you'll no longer offer that package again at that price. Here, the loss is expressed as either a price or an opportunity to own a particular product package. So the sense of urgency is increased dramatically when there is potential for loss either in monetary or opportunity. In the second case, you have just sold Miss Smith on a great new dishwasher when she says she wants to go home and think about it or discuss it with her husband. If you let Miss Smith walk out the door, and do not resolve the objection with a sense of urgency, you've lost it. It's done. That sale's over. Second case is really the second case is much trickier to implement, and we'll go over it more in depth in the implementation segment. However, you want to make sure that you direct a sense of urgency and a personal sense of loss to the potential buyer considering buying your product. Otherwise, once you make it personal, they won't need anyone else's opinion to decide whether the purchase is a good idea or not. Empower them to make their own buying decisions. So what's the psychological trigger here? The species as a whole is programmed to avoid loss and danger. Otherwise, we'd we've had a tough time staying alive. So subconsciously, we are, constantly monitoring our environment for cues that might suggest that we could be in danger or that we will be experiencing a dramatic loss and to flee to evade the problem as quickly as possible. It's just the human dimension. And in fact, our nervous system is fine tuned to make us react much more quickly at signs of danger or loss. You hear the stories of mothers who have lifted whole cars off their babies who got caught underneath in superhuman efforts of strength and courage. Why? The idea of loss of their child was so unbearable that nervous systems kick in and give them a boost they need to overcome that problem. It made them act in bolder ways, to take action immediately. While losing money or an opportunity can't be compared with the potential loss of a child, the same dynamic is at play. It creates a sense of urgency if there is a possible loss of money or opportunity. The greater the potential loss, the more the nervous system kicks in to take immediate action. That's why most financial experts warn that people are risk adverse and shouldn't watch the stock market. If they do and see the investment drop substantially, they pull their money instead of waiting on the market to correct. That's because the loss triggered a subconscious risk that caused them, to take immediate action and usually a higher emotional action rather than to think, all of the options out. This works for sales because you give your prospect time to think about the other options. Odds are they'll either think up more objections to your product or decide to buy something else, somebody else's product, for instance. It may not even be a better product, just better marketed. If they aren't given a reason, in every single presentation why they shouldn't walk away and think about it, this can be the most damaging of objections to your sales efforts because once you're out of sight, it's guaranteed you're out of mind. All the effort is for nothing. So, how do you implement this effectively? Your sales copy will have to invoke a sense of urgency. Since you do not have the prospect in front of you in a retail store situation, if you do, this is even easier. You can do this in a non-retail environment. You can do this as boldly or as subtly as you like. You can simply call some offers introductory and not say anything about whether the price will change or not. However, just that word implies something will change down the line. Or you can very clearly state that is a one-time limited offer as a more of a direct way to create urgency. However, there are even more creative ways you can invoke a sense of loss that have nothing to do with time. That's what makes them so effective. You aren't necessarily rushing anyone, but the implication is that if they don't rush themselves, they will experience a loss that may be unrecoverable. An example of this would be if you have a product that is giving companies who buy it a competitive edge. So you can explain how everyone uses it and why it increases productivity and provides that competitive edge. Then you can suggest all of the major players who have bought your product and how the sales prospect shouldn't delay so as to remain competitive in their business. Well, there's no actual time frame that you've mentioned or a time limit on your offer, but you very effectively lit a fire under most business owners' butts due to the potential for loss of business to other well-equipped establishments. Another way to invoke a sense of urgency is when it's a matter of style or status. When it's the best time to get something novel that really sets you above your peers. When the product first comes out. If it's predicted to be a hot seller, then you have to get one before it sells out, right? This marketing strategy can even help with pre-sales so that you can reserve orders before the product is even out. If people think the demand will be huge, you can even sell the reservations by asking them to put money down to hold their order and guarantee delivery by a certain date. This type of logic is also used when marketers say, be the first to own this fully loaded cell phone, or whatever the product might be. They are hoping to increase your sense of urgency by getting people to jostle for being the first in line to buy that product. After all, once everyone has one of these hot items, it's not such a big deal anymore, and the urgency is lost. Framing your offer in a way that creates some impulse to take the action to buy when the copy is read is very important for any sales process to happen. If you don't get the urgency across, people will drift off to some other website or business or activity and may even forget where they last saw that offer. In retail sales, one of the worst objections one can hear is the person who insists that before they can buy something, they have to check with their spouse. Why? Well, it puts the business in the difficult position of being completely unable to create the sense of urgency to make the purchase while they are still standing there. In those situations, if the owner doesn't act fast, really fast, they will lose the sale for sure. So that's when they really have to get a bit personal. You have to be a bit bold too. You might even dare to ask the person if their husband or wife makes all their buying decisions for them. They may want to know if the husband or wife checks with them in all their major purchases too. Or they might want to know if it's really necessary to get approval for a purchase that may have nothing to do with a spouse. It's just an excuse. Now, you'd think that getting nosy and personal is going to have a poor reaction. It might, but you know already that if you let the person leave your store with that objection, you've lost the sale for sure. So what do you have to lose? Online, the same strategy isn't as important since you aren't face to face with a person. But even so, you want to make sure that the visitor understands why it is personally important for them to make that purchase now without checking in with others. This is easy to do if the products are gender based, like women toiletries or men's ties. You make sure your customer is aware that, women with good taste or men with a sense of knowing of the product, that it's a great deal that they shouldn't pass up right now. Okay, so let's talk about timing the strategy. This is one strategy that should always be attempted in conjunction with other strategies. It certainly can't hurt to try and light a fire under your sales prospect's rear and their rear end to get them off their butt to buy. It's really, really important that we really focus on this sense of urgency and punching that sense of urgency through on all phases of our sales process, start to finish. There are better strategic places to implement this process at certain times, depending on your product, but it is always important to put some sense of urgency on all of your products and services at certain points to create more monetary value for your company. All right, that concludes this lesson. We'll see you in the next video.